and gentlemen, welcome back to Starladder Season 8, Day 3. We've got our third of 4 matches coming up today. We've got super strong dinosaurs now facing off the mighty Power Rangers. Unfortunately for the Power Rangers, they did just concede a loss to the mighty next.kz, and here we'll get to see how they fare against SSD. Ziori being joined by Merlini once again. Merlini, my friend, how you feeling coming into Power Rangers versus SSD?
It looks like SSD had a pretty strong performance yesterday. I forgot who they took down, but it was an upset, I believe. Double checking, it was I don't remember, but they've been looking pretty good lately. SSD.
I will actually admit I have yet to really see SSD perform. I got to interview Sneaking maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and he seemed confident about their performance, but I have not been able to witness any of it personally here. No bonus time going to be deleted here. A little surprised. I would have thought SSD would be out of bonus time given they were a little late to the game, but alas, they're minute and 50, so they're solid. Let's talk about these bans a little bit. Venomancer and Elder Titan going to be banned out by SSD, and the Timbersaw and Visage going to be banned out by the Power Rangers. That will open up for a first pick Lich. Crystal Maiden and Clockwork going to be snatched up by SSD, and we'll see what Power Rangers want to do with their second pick. First pick, Lich. Can't say I'm too surprised, but we haven't seen too much Lich play. He's been pretty much banned out for most of the matches. Thoughts on the old Lich there, Merlini?
I think he's pretty solid. The thing about him is he's like easy to execute, right? Like all you need to do is Dark Writ, and you just get a lot of returns for really little investment. So I think it's a very safe pick. It's not really risky. Like, you need a really good Clockwork player to make a clock pick work out. And same with like Elder Titan. Elder Titan's really easy, like Lich too. So that's why you often see him first picked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the first pick, Crystal Maiden, she's been, I don't want to say a breakout hero, but there was a long stretch where we saw almost no Crystal Maiden play, and then all of a sudden she's come rushing back into the competitive scene. And if I recall properly, her changes in 6.79 weren't really that significant. I don't recall what they were off the top of my head, which is probably an indicator that they weren't too big. Why has she made such a big presence as of late?
She's like somewhat easy to execute and get levels with, which is really important with your support. We saw just last game of Venomancer and Vengeful just fall really far behind, and it took a really long time for them to recover from it, and they couldn't actually fully recover from that. And when you have a support like Crystal Maiden, especially with those pooling and the neutral changes in 6.79, it's a lot easier to just get experience in general. So people like supports that can get experience without actually having to kill people, because going to kill people is really risky, especially when teams have been playing as safe and carefully as they have been recently.
Right, and exactly as you mentioned in that last match, we saw relatively successful ganking across those two supports. You know, they were able to set up several early game kills, but you got to grab those kills pretty damn quick to make up for all of that experience you'd be missing, either farming in the jungle or supporting in lane and soaking up some of those creep experience, some of that experience from the creeps. Pardon me. Marana going to be the second pick here for Power Rangers to go with their Lich, and Marana had she's been having quite a good showing in general. Of course, Marana and Bane, that classic combo that we brought up several times throughout this cast, so SSD may want to consider banning him out. Of course, they will have one ban left before we go back into the picking phase here. Puck going to be the third ban for Power Rangers, and Bristleback going to be banned out by SSD, another hero, as we're on the topic of kind of breakout heroes. Bristleback been getting a little bit of love recently.
The Bristleback, he's cool.
Yeah,
I like him. How do you feel about him? I think he's a situational pick. And he is like somewhat difficult to play just because position is so important with him being a melee and all, and like kind of a spellcaster too. I think he does really well versus like Visage Birds. He does really well versus like when he's like gets focused a lot, which is, you can't say the same about many carries. I think him and Spectre are the main two. Like, if you go on him first, you're gonna die most likely. But if you don't kill him, he's just gonna wreck your team anyway. So it's a lose-lose.
Yeah, I think he can be a solid pick, sort of like what we talked about with Venomancer. At face value, I think he's kind of okay. It's more a matter if you can use him properly, he becomes really powerful, because he has such a strong mid and early game presence, but he falls off. There comes that point where, that tankiness that he has becomes a little bit less relevant compared to the damage that folks can put out. So I always get a little frustrated if you see a Bristleback in one of those kind of hard farming Midas lineups. If you don't have that mid-game stride, I think he can be a little bit of a wasted pick. But I like the Bristleback. He's fun. He's easy. Turn the back. Clinks and Viper are going to be banned out. We've seen that Viper ban quite a bit here. Clinks has not had a showing yet in our Day 3 of Starladder Season 7, but alas, the Outworld Devourer, the mighty OD, going to be back here in a Kunkka pick right away. Have to suspect that that is in an effort to try and counter the OD, but as you mentioned, one of the things about Kunkka is that he can hold his own against OD, he can harass with Tidebringer, but still doesn't really shut down the core of OD's farming potential, still being able to steal the int. Those last hits hurt quite a bit, even against the mighty Admiral.
Yeah, I think that OD pickup is really good, especially when Viper is banned out by Power Rangers. I'm not exactly sure why they banned it out, but I think Power Rangers may just do a dual lane and mid Lich Kunkka because you have to shut OD down early, and you cannot just let him get a Midas and just farm up a Storm.
Yeah, and I mean, Lich is one hero that does work well to try and deal with OD, just denying the creeps in lane. Do you think it could be a Lich Kunkka dual lane just to deny all
I think it should be.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the most important thing that Power Rangers needs to do is shut down OD. And like Clockwork, yeah, whatever, he's difficult to zone out, especially with a Lich. You really need like a Venomancer or two dedicated supports, and it's not really too effective zoning out of Clockwork anyways. CM and Rubik, they're going to be able to just do their thing, stack, pull, neutral, whatever. But yeah, OD is the important hero. If I'm Power Ranger, I'm like, well, we need to shut down to OD, dual lane a mid, and then Mirana, like, is she really going to die to like any of those heroes? Most likely not. Maybe if it's a 1-on-3 situation, but you can just put her in a safe lane and put like a decent, like maybe like a bounty hunter in an off lane. That's what I would like to see.
Ah, Bounty Hunter. That could be a viable pick here. I mean, Bounty Hunter, Bane perhaps, but oh, there you go. There's that Shadow Demon you mentioned last game, sort of similar to Bane, but maybe an easier setup with Mirana. Talk to us about Shadow Demon a little bit, though. He doesn't get a lot of love in the competitive scene right now. Why is that? Do you think he's a little underloved or about right?
I think he's underloved. I think he's like as popular as Bane is. I think like Shadow Demon is like similar purpose. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for like lockdown during BKB, both of them provide like similar things. They also provide similar setup too. It's like Bane's a little bit more tanky and he has like better base stats, but Shadow Demon with the images, you can like use that for like tower sieges. Shadow Demon is a lot better at stacking. He can stack like 2, sometimes 3 camps at once with his Shadow Poison. Also, he's better at taking out stacks too. So like he is one of those supports that can catch up and farm, unlike a Bane, right? If you get behind with a Bane early, you can't really do that much. You're a little bit more survivable, but you can't really get XP that fast. And Shadow Demon can. And defensive disruption is just incredibly good. It's similar to defensive sleep, but I think that defensive disruption is a little bit better, although they both serve similar purpose offensively. I really like him as a hero.
Yeah, and Soul Catcher is an ability that seems to just get overlooked a lot. Not a lot of people comment on it, but can certainly be a game changer in certain engages with all that extra bit of bonus damage, kind of that spell-based Orchid effect, a little bit, if you will. So, interesting. Not too often you get to see a Shadow Demon kind of pumped up here. Curious about what Power Rangers are going to want to do with this last pick. I think that final Doom ban from SSD makes a good bit of sense here. I think he would have fit into their roster quite nicely.
And do like a one-on-one matchup versus the OD and mid, like still a Razor pickup wouldn't be too bad, especially with the Lifestealer pickup coming out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that Razor and then doing 2 dual lanes would be fine, like SD Kunkka and then Lich and Mirana. That's not that bad of an option for them. Super Strong Dinosaurs has a pretty strong lineup though. Like Lifestealer out OD, not the best carrier for Infest, but still pretty potent, especially once you get a 4-staff, and that is like very formidable late game and definitely stronger than Power Rangers right now. So like as it stands, the pressure is on Power Rangers to try and take it to Super Strong Dinosaurs and keep the OD under farm and keep the Lifestealer under farm. Like Super Strong Dinosaurs, they can just farm up and play passively and react. They don't need to be like, oh man, we need to keep down this Mirana. She's gonna own us late game. That rarely happens. And like Kunkka's like decent too, but he still is pretty vulnerable to dying a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So this makes me wonder with this last pick, maybe Power Rangers could consider more of an early game kind of timing push. Nope, not going to go that route. All right, going to grab the Queen of Pain. So it looks like she'll...
I hope she's not mid versus OD, because that is just going to say,
terrible. How are they going to lane this? I'm a little, I mean, it's got to be Kunkka mid. They picked the Kunkka to go up against the OD, or if OD ends up being in another lane. I mean, that was the sole purpose of that Kunkka. They picked him right after. But that Queen of Pain, I don't know, that kind of throws me for a loop a little bit. And I mean, Quamp's a hero that hasn't gotten a lot of love as of late as well. Her stats weren't so hot. And I don't know, she just hasn't been picked up. It seems North American teams are the only teams I see trying to work Queen of Pain into their rosters, at least semi-frequently.
The
So
hero is good. It's just
interesting.
very situational. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like Puck more because he can survive a lot easier, but Queen of Pain provides a lot more burst. But problem is, like, you almost always have to get BKB on Quap, and you like almost never have to get it on Puck. So that's kind of why she's fallen off. But she's very good versus like Dragon Knight in middle versus like pretty much any melee in middle. I actually don't know why she got nerfed. Her Shadow Strike actually costs 110 mana at all levels now instead of like 80, 100, 120, 140, which I think was totally unwarranted. But like ever since then, oh my gosh, she's nerfed into oblivion. Don't pick her ever.
Yeah, that seems to be the mindset of a lot of these teams. Those minor nerfs, just total overreaction. But all right, let's introduce our rosters a little bit here. Looks like Queen of Pain is not going to be mid. She's stationed about the bottom lane right now. Kant going to be the one on the Queen of Pain. In the mid lane, or at least present on the Shadow Demon, F God. Once again, hopefully I'm not butchering that, but I just don't recognize that name right there. So Shadow Demon here on our Radiant side. ZXC going to be on the Kunkka, which means he will, of course, be in the mid lane. Moon going to be playing on the Mirana, generally an indicator that that will be a hard farming Mirana. And last but not least, J4 going to be on the support Lich. Right now stationed about the top lane, but very well may start rotating around. On the Dire side, we do have Team SSD, super strong dinosaurs. Zai going to be in the top lane, playing on the solo Clockwork. In the mid, Arise going to be on the OD, and that means they've got a tri-lane down in the bottom. Sneaking going to be on the Life Stealer. CWM going to be on the Rubik, and Peter Pan Dam, all PPD there, going to be playing on the Crystal Maiden. And again, it is going to be a tri-lane down in the bottom against this solo Queen of Pain. I think she's going to have her work cut out for her, no doubt here.
Yeah, it's definitely the right idea of not putting Queen of Pain in mid, but at the same time, it makes their lanes really predictable, right? Because they know they're not dumb enough to put a Queen of Pain mid, so they can predict their lanes very easily and just play very aggressively on her on bottom. We see Come With Me on the Rupik already come out with boots first and just trying to keep KOT underfarmed as possible. And yeah, this is the thing with Crystal Maiden, right? You don't need to get kills. You can just go to the jungle if the situation calls for it, and she's such a flexible support, and it really it's just so easy getting experience on her, and she's such a good hero because of that.
Yeah, as we see right there, that Frostbite just so useful in the jungle here. KOT could be in a little bit of trouble, perhaps. Going to eat a tango, micro his way through the trees, but still, he does have Blink level 1, so it's going to have that escape mechanism, but Telekinesis is going to be used by the Rubik. PPD on his way in, looking for a Frostbite. Not going to find it, but still completely zoning out this Queen of Pain. Right now, 0-1 in last hits, and that gives Sneaking pretty much free reign here to maintain the lane where he wants it to be. 7-3, leading the way in last hits. Going to be good news for SSD, at least in the bottom lane. In the mid, we've seen the Shadow Demon rotation, so not going to be that Lich rotation that we were talking about, but it is a dual lane nonetheless to try and shut down this OD. And semi-successful, I suppose. Arise sitting 6-1 against the 6-2 Kunkka right now, so they're at least having an even matchup in the mid, but it looks like the Shadow Demon going to rotate down bottom to try and help out the Queen of Pain, though he needs to be a little bit careful, because if he gets caught by the Rubik Crystal Maiden, he's going to be hard-pressed to survive, I think.
I'm not actually sure why Super Strong Dinosaurs plays up as a rule right here. Like, they don't need to block the spawn because Power Rangers is not going to utilize it because there's going to be a dual lane in mid, and they don't really have any good junglers. So I'm surprised that they did that. I think they could have utilized the pool for themselves so that they can just tower dive the Queen of Pain. But regardless, it's still pretty useful in scouting out the rotation from F God. But he knows that he needs to be down here just because this is just such a brutal tri-lane to deal with.
Yeah. And already we see these rotations, PPD and CWM just moving around the jungle and I guess hoping to catch them. I don't know what they're looking for here. I guess just going to go ahead and pull on the Wild Wing Ripper and get a little bit of extra farm. Let's talk about this top lane a little bit. We do see the solo Clockwork. He is level 3, seems to be holding his own here. He is 4-0 in last hits, so could be worse for a solo Clockwork here up against a duo lane. Moon is farming away, and Lich going to start roaming about as well as, I guess, feeling like his services aren't needed up there in the top. At this point, Mirana should be able to hold her own, and we'll see where Lich ends up. Lots of rotations coming out from Power Rangers here to try and support their other lanes, with PPD and CWM moving back down towards the bottom. We could actually see a bit of an engage in the jungle here as ZXC and F-God micro their way through. It looks like they are going to identify PPD here. Going to interrupt his bit of farming on that Dark Troll Summoner and going to be able to cut through the trees. The great chase here is underway And who's going to find the engage? There it is. Telekinesis going to be used. Shadow Demon going to go ahead and drop the disruption on top of the Rubik. Rubik going to be in big trouble. Torrent going to come out. That's going to be an easy setup. KOT going to grab the first blood on that Queen of Pain with the last hit. And now Sneaking might be in a little trouble as well. Yeah, Lich going to come in. Going to be able to connect with that Frost Nova. Going to throw one last auto attack. Rage going to be used. And Sneaking will survive. But nice setup from Power Rangers right there. We were talking about the synergy between Disruption and the Marana Arrow, but it works quite well for the Kunkka Torrent as well, as we saw right there.
Yeah, Come With Me cannot be caught out in a position like that. Yeah, he has boots, but boots are useless when you get disrupted. He has to stay out of range of the disruption, and he was just a little bit too trigger happy using his telekinesis offensively. He should have retreated with a Crystal Maiden. I mean, Crystal Maiden is like 280 move speed, and if she can get in a good position, your 340 move speed hero should definitely be able to as well.
And Come With Me now going to rotate up to the top lane here. So I guess going to try and, well, maybe not support the Clockwork, but try and put some pressure on this Marana, who is actually number 2 on the last hit chart right now. So that is one great thing for Power Rangers right here of their Marana, though kind of pales in comparison to how well this OD is doing in mid right now, 21 and 8, and also Lifestealer, number 3 on the last hit chart, 16 and 9. Sneaking still off to a pretty damn good start right here, and he is going to rotate to the top lane as well. So more lane rotation happening first by Power Rangers and now by SSD to try and maximize their farm.
Yeah, so, I mean, this tri-lane bottom did not work out just simply from that from Come With Me getting caught out. He's level 2 right now. Queen of Pain level 5. Like, after being zoned out early, she's already caught back up very, very easily. So I think the laning was smart yet predictable by Power Rangers. Oh, mid.
Yep, ZXC going to be in some trouble here. The Astral Imprisonment just started off. Easy cogs there for Zai, and that'll be a 3 versus 1 easy kill on the Kunkka in the mid lane. Yeah, well,
did they not see him with a ward or something like that? I don't actually think he used smoke. I think he just like walked up to him.
I think they just walked up. I think part of the problem is he was just, well, yeah, Astral doesn't last that long. He was stuck in Astral and made for easy cogs, but yeah, he should have seen the support rotations. I don't know, perhaps he just got caught a bit too far forward and got caught in the Astral when he thought he could make it out. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, my friend.
Don't die, Kunkka. They need you. Kunkka is going to be pretty important in the late game, and they need him to have items just really badly. So they have to protect him. I think that having this Observer Ward mid is a very good idea. Now they can see rotations coming out. Looks like OD. Ooh, I thought he was going to get a disruption up there because he has uphill vision, but he is going for Midas first.
Yep, up in the top lane, looks like Sneaking going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Arrow going to fly, not going to connect. He's trying to move around the trees. Starstorm going to be enough to finish him off. Rubik going to fall as well. That's going to be a 2-for-0 exchange in the top lane here between Moon and J4. I caught the tail end of it, but yeah, looks like SSD may be getting a bit hyper-aggressive. I missed what did all the damage to that Lifestealer to get him so low.
Yeah, Come With Me has to like take a step back and not be the main initiator unless they heavily outnumber them.
Yep, in the mid lane here, OD going to be in a bit of trouble. The disruption into the Torrent. Unfortunately, Kunkka not level 6. If he had the boat, probably could have secured a kill there on the OD, but was unable to make it happen. And while we were watching that incoming gank in the mid lane, down in the bottom, Clockwork actually getting taken out by Queen of Pain. Looks like, I was going to say probably burned the ulti.
Midas Queen of Pain, dang.
Wow. Interesting.
That's very fast, and I mean Queen of Pain just hopped right back in after that first blood too. So that was just so costly from SSD, and now they're like the game has completely changed around. First they were being aggressors, now they're desperately trying to keep PR under farm with the Marana just completely farming top and Queen of Pain farming up in mid. The pressure kind of switched to SSD.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it seemed like Lifestealer was off to a really good start. Well, he certainly was getting free farm, but now this rotation up to the top lane almost came a little bit too late, where now he's stuck as level 5. This Marana is level 7, and he just doesn't have the laning presence. She's way out harassing him. He doesn't have the sustain. Was able to grab the phase boots, at least has a stout shield, but Marana really...
Yeah, he can't go like Midas and farm, though.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, so definitely some issues here for SSD, but OD still doing quite well for himself. He does have a Gloves of Haste right now. Hard to say whether he's going to go for Midas or if that's just going to become Power Treads. Got another 900 in the bank, so still could get a very timely Midas if he so chooses. He does have a bottle on the courier that he's been crowing around here. And also this Clockwork is doing pretty well for himself. Pardon me, I was thinking he was in the bottom. Where did Clockwork end up at? He's just roaming around. Zai is level 6 now. But he's been doing all right for himself. He does have a hook shot. Probably not going to want to burn it here on the Queen of Pain. Is going to use the Battery Assault. but unfortunately not going to be able to catch the Quap. Going to be a little bit of wasted mana there, but going to be able to grab that Illusion Rune and may see that Clockwork moving around. And my apologies again, going to miss that kill on Crystal Maiden.
It was just a disrupt in a torrent.
Pretty straightforward. And sneaking, almost in a little bit of trouble, is going to hop inside a creep. Will infest back up to full health, but still not out of the clear yet. Is going to use that rage as he makes it back to the tower. The auto attack's coming. Very aggressive leap forward. Nice time Starstorm right there from Moon. Going to connect with just him. Going to get that extra bit of damage. That will secure the kill, but now he may be in a little bit of trouble. Disruption going to come his way. No, team support from Power Rangers going to come, and now Come With Me going to be the one in some trouble. He's trying to move around the tower and pick up some of that extra bit of damage. Zai actually going to hookshot over the trees. Won't be enough to keep the Rubik alive. Now Lich going to be here. Is going to burn the Chain Frost. Won't be enough to catch any bounces, but looks like this Clockwork is going to be doomed. He did manage to grab a kill on the Kunkka as well. Actually going to get finished off by the tower, and wow, Zai going to be able to survive here. Marana going to get picked off as well, so that fight not going the way Power Rangers was hoping. SSD actually with a bit of recovery there as their Clockwork does survive with a few hit points to spare.
Yeah, very nice rotation from Clockwork. I'm surprised OD wasn't there a little bit earlier. I think he could have easily killed the Queen of Pain after her blink. She had like almost no mana left, but he does have his Midas now. Kunkka does have his phase boost, so everyone's starting to pick up a little bit on farm, and Goldcraft's starting to slightly dip towards SSD after that very aggressive tower dive on top, and I think Clockwork is going to be the big playmaker for SSD in the 10 to like 20 minute phase. He really has to hit like nice counter initiate hook shots after someone gets arrowed, after someone gets SD disrupted into boat torrent. It's all on him. PPD almost gets hit by arrow on top.
Yeah, and as you were mentioning here, SSD the burden isn't on them to be the aggressors here. They can sit back and try and farm. Looking at this Lifestealer though, are you thinking Recovery Midas is going to come out, or would you advise against that and just start working towards the Armlet for more of a mid-game kind of timing?
I would probably just go drums and try and play it from there, because drum still helps you with farming, but it also helps you with fighting. Like if, oh goodness, wow. Queen of Pain going crazy.
A lot of devastation coming out in the mid lane here. Started to look like an even engage at the beginning, but wow, Quap getting a nice ulti off and doing all that follow-up damage, going to be able to finish off the Rubik and also get a much-needed kill on that Outworld Devourer. And you know, we've talked about how poorly sneaking has been farming so well. Oh, Jesus, farming so far on that Lifestealer, but OD kind of their saving grace, a very much needed kill. And looking at that net worth chart, all of a sudden, this Queen of Pain making some recovery. Quap is 5-0-0 here at the 10-minute mark, and now #1 on the net worth chart.
Yeah, I don't think he can go minus recovery at this point, just because Queen of Pain is probably going to have her like Orchid if she wants to pretty soon, and like they can just keep bringing the fight to SSD, just because if they go like 2 minuses, they're just going to be way too far behind, and they don't really have like the lineup to like 4-on-5 really so much, especially with Power Rangers roaming around as 4 or 5 themselves very, very often. Looks like they're trying to get a kill on bottom. Kunkka, bottom, or Queen of Pain with Invis. Looks like OD, if he doesn't back out now, he is dead.
Yeah, could potentially be in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to hang around the tower. Nice heads-up play.
A smoke on top.
To get back to safety. Yep, that's going to be a smoke on PPD, and Come With Me on the Rubik and Crystal Maiden here. They're going to rotate back behind their tower and may try and catch the Marana. They should have enough crowd control
Midas
to take her down, but yeah, another Midas coming out here?
Yep, Marana.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So we have what, 1, 2, 3 Midases. OD, Queen of Pain, Marana. Not sure if Thinking's gonna get one. He is hovering around that 1,200 gold mark. And yeah, SSC comfortable to playing passively. They do have Moonlight Shadow. Oh no, actually she has not skilled Moonlight Shadow, even though she's level 8. I think like they could just get an easy kill with Moonlight Shadow on either OD or someone on top.
Yeah, Marana going a slightly more greedy build perhaps, just looking for that bit of burst damage, as she does have a lot of momentum already. Phase boot's already complete, and yeah, well into the Midas rotation here as it's already on cooldown. OD going to go back to farming. He still hasn't seen much of a return on his Midas, but 4 members of SSD rotated up to the top lane here, all just kind of hanging out. The support's starting to farm the jungle a little bit. It seems they're looking for an opportunity to pick on this Marana, feeling that Moon is getting a good bit of farm, just seeing if they can find that window. PPD hiding in the trees, almost getting that frostbite off, but not going to be able to make it happen. More support coming up here. Lich and Shadow Demon now going to support the Marana for kind of a try-on-try, and they're just going to leave Queen of Pain to solo farm down in the bottom lane, and this could be a little bit dangerous given that he's got a Hand of Midas already #1 on the net worth chart, and Quap going to start pressuring this tower a little bit. Has plenty of hit points to spare, but still I don't know. I would worry a little bit about leaving this co-op just to our own devices.
I'm worried a lot about it.
Yeah.
Screw it a little bit. Like KOT is going to crush them in the mid game, and I mean,
Yeah.
when you have a Midas co-op, she has like 700 HP, so you get one frostbite on her, she's dead. But they haven't been able to keep the pressure up on her, and they're going to pay for it in this mid game.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's really where Quap shines. And one of those heroes for sure, if she grabs all that mid-game momentum.
Shadow on top.
Yep, can carry it into the late game a little bit. Quap going to pour it up. That's going to be a 5-man train headed to the top lane from Power Rangers. As you mentioned, Moonlight Shadow is engaged. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're going to bump into anyone before it expires. And that'll be the end of the Moonlight Shadow. But they're in hot pursuit. They may very well rotate down from the high ground into the mid lane. And it doesn't look like PPD and Arise are too wise to it. They're going to back up kind of just in the nick of time here. So maybe I spoke too soon, but kind of a close call a second later, and I think PR may have found themselves a kill or two. A little surprised to see Mirana not just chuck an arrow right there. As they say, you miss 100% of arrows you don't throw.
Yep, and can they really do any infest bombs right now? Probably not too effective with Clockwork, just because they can't really kill the Queen of Pain, and everyone else can get defensively disrupted. Potom can leap out, so I can understand why SSD isn't playing aggressively right now. If they had like a puck or something, they could kill any of these heroes because they don't have BKB. But as it stands, it's kind of forced to recover farm mode. Gold is still slightly in favor of PR, but nothing unmanageable. Only around 1,000.
Yeah, nothing too crazy here. And it looks like we could see an engage in the mid lane as Power Rangers are pressuring this tier 1 tower very hard. Shadow Demon gonna take a sneaky route here as he moves between the tier 1 and the tier 2 to come behind the tower. And unfortunately not going to grab the kill that he was looking for. Chain Frost going to come out. Nice rotation from PPD. Not going to take any bounces. It won't save his life though. That'll be a 1-0. Clockwork going to throw the hook shot. Going to be off the mark though. It may be enough to finish off this Shadow Demon. Nice call is going to trap him in. And oh no, looks like we're going to have a pause right in the middle of this fight. So let's try and recap here. It's been a 2-0 so far. I thought that Shadow Demon got taken out, but I guess he was able to disruption himself in the nick of time, though it's looking very grim for the Mirana here. She is stuck in cogs with her leap on cooldown.
It's looking very grim for OD too. Queen Pain just ulted and blinked in, but she doesn't really have that much mana. Maybe if she like Magic Wand screams, he can die, but I think he is just out of range of Scream of Pain, but he can't keep dying.
Yeah. So we'll see here. Gonna unpause and see how this fight starts to unfold. Moon is gonna fall. Shadow Demon's still alive for now, but maybe not for long. Nope, he's gonna end up falling in the end. Still isn't over quite yet, though, as now the Clockwork gonna try to stand his ground. Oh, barely gonna have enough health as he comes back up. And wow, Power Rangers getting turned around on here. The OD survives.
Nice buyback from PPD.
As does the Lifestealer. And yeah, as you mentioned, PPD gonna buy back right there using that freezing field. So that ends up being a 3-for-4 exchange, including the Crystal Maiden that died and bought back. So I guess it could have been worse, but wow, Power Rangers.
Could have been
right
a lot
there.
worse.
Yeah.
OD didn't die, which is a really big deal. Now he'll complete his 4-step. Now he can save people who get caught out by arrow, get caught out by torrent and boat, and that's going to be really important for them. Come with me. He has finally hit level 7. No skills yet on him. Looks like he will pick up a leap, but I haven't really seen too much from Come With Me this game. It's really just been a lot of Clockwork action. Come With Me 0 and 5 right now.
Yeah, that really hurts. And on that same note, Queen of Pain was 7-0, now going to be 7-1, and Crystal Maiden was the one to grab that huge bounty of just about 900 gold. So PPD going to get himself a nice little pick-me-up here. That'll be his Tranquil Boots, as they do get delivered via the courier. Also, a smoke going to be used here by Clockwork, as well as the Crystal Maiden, and we'll see where they rotate. Looks like they do have their sights set on that top lane. SSD, very team fight oriented here in this kind of early part of the mid-game. As we see, well, kind of a 5-man rotation, 2 already in the top lane.
Mech already on Lich, too. That's a big problem.
Yep, there it is. Hookshot going to connect. It is going to be on the mark with the Shadow Demon. Going to throw himself into Disruption. Zai going to get turned around on right away. Will get put in the Astral Imprisonment to survive for now. J4 going to fall, as will the Shadow Demon. This fight still not going the way of Power Rangers. It'll be a 2-0. And a lot of that sort of ether state between the Disruption and the Astral Imprisonment. And, well, the Astral keeping the Clockwork alive right there. Otherwise, would have certainly been dead.
Yeah, really, Zai is just completely carrying them in this mid game, and without his hook shots, without his nice cogs, they would just be so far behind right now. The gold graph actually back in favor of SSD, so this passive play has been working out for them, and now the pressure has switched again to Power Rangers. Like, well, crap, OD is getting farmed. He has his 4-step. Lifestealer has a Midas now too. We got to keep him down, and now they're feeling the pressure again, and they're trying to take fights, but SSD is just executing just a little bit better. Kill score almost even at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the initiation, Clockwork has so much more initiation power than what Power Rangers have. I mean, aside from a Marana arrow, a Moonlight Shadow, I guess Quap hopping forward and using that Sonic Wave, they don't have a great initiation tool. The Kunkka Boat is something you can use, but easier to have it that paired with something like the Clockwork Hookshot and Cogs combo. So those skill shots being their initiator, I think, is part of what's making this difficult for Power Rangers compared to SSD. As you mentioned, Clockwork really doing a lot of work. Down in the bottom lane here, Shadow Demon in a lot of trouble. Going to walk right into Zai and come with me, but whoa, Queen of Pain going to be right around the corner with a big ulti to finish off the Rubik, and Clockwork going to fall shortly after. Lich going to be the one to actually grab that last hit. Did burn the Chain Frost right there. SSD going to get another swing, 2-0 in favor of Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's not terrible for them because OD and Lifesteal are still farming away, and looks like Snaking will be able to put a little pressure on top lane. Looks like those two, Shadow Demon and Kunkka, rotated back mid. I like the drones pickup from Kunkka just because he's been like constantly getting Astral, doesn't have like any mana to cast his combo, and Kunkka is not very useful if you can't cast your boat. That boat is just really underrated in team fights, though. It does a hell of a lot of damage, 400 damage at level 1, and the Kunkka Rum effect is incredibly potent.
Right. Exactly, and I don't think he's even gotten one. I don't think we've caught one boat even as of yet. So 18 minutes, no boats is definitely.
I saw one in mid, but it
was one.
Didn't
Okay.
connect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not much. So
Boat.
unfortunate for the Kunkka, and that is one of the reasons that he does okay against OD in that mid lane, but still just doesn't have that driving presence of someone like a Razor, who I think does slightly better.
Yeah, we've seen some I've seen some sneaky boats though. You just like straight up cast it and they don't see it coming until too late, and that thing just owns. But yeah, if you cast it like when people are expecting it, like oh yeah, you know when like Clockwork initiates it, you kind of expect it after that. But you can get some like sneaky boat engages, and that's something that I haven't seen many Kunkkas do, but it is really awesome when they do.
Yep. So Queen of Pain, again, did go for that early Hand of Midas, which is a little A characteristic of that hero. Going to go for the early Ultimate Orb. Probably going to be going for an early Sheepstick, I would imagine, although I guess Lincoln's isn't isn't the craziest thing, but what are you thinking? Sheepstick here first for Quap?
Let's see. I think, yeah, Sheepstick is way better at this point. Because they, like, what does Lincoln's really block? It gives you, like, a little bit of HP, but there's, like, so many spells that knock it off. Force Staff, Astral, Open Wounds, Frostbite, Telekinesis, as well as Spell Seal. There's just, like, if she gets ganked, she's just gonna die anyways. So, I think, oh, Arise on bottom. Oh, there's no follow-up. But it is nice to just be able to instantly initiate, especially on a hero like Nyx.
Oh, Boat going to come in the mid lane. Is going to connect to the Clockwork. He's going to take a lot of damage, so the follow-up's not going to be there. Disruption going to be used defensively on the Shadow Demon. He's not going to be able to escape. Rubik going to finish him off with a nice Fade Bolt right there. It's going to be a 1-for-1 as Crystal Maiden does get taken out. Oh, a Chain Frost going to come out as well, but not going to do a hell of a lot.
Infest.
And yeah, beautiful Infest right there, and it looks like it'll just end as a 1-for-1 as both sides kind of retreat to friendly territory. Mid-tier 1 tower on the Dire side still standing. They did burn the glyph, but that was sort of the focal point that started off that fight. And Power Rangers unable to grab it. So a support for a support, a pretty break-even exchange, but it's not over quite yet. Come with me. Going to be in a fairly aggressive position right there. X marks the spot, Torrent, Arrow, and everything else under the sun going to be used to finish him off. And that will end as a 2-for-1 with this Tier 1 tower falling. So suffice it to say, Power Rangers here are going to come out slightly ahead with this exchange.
Man, SSD's team must be like, come with me, what are you doing? And that's what I'm doing right now, because what is he doing over there? They have an Observer Ward over there. They were just like right there in a big engagement. He cannot keep dying. Like 1 and 7 on your Rubik. Rubik, especially when you go a very early greedy boots first build, your team's relying on you to do something, and pretty much all he's been able to do is farm up like 1,000 gold in 21 minutes.
Yeah, I mean he does have an urn. I guess that's a step in the right direction. But yeah, 0 and 7 this, or 1 and 7 I should say, is definitely he's been the target. His positioning has just not been spot on, and we saw to follow up that last fight, he was left all alone, just kind of like, hey guys, you left? Oh, I didn't notice, and it ended up being kind of a 4v1 gangbang on him, and very unfortunate indeed. Now Lifestealer though is starting to come online, which is good news for SSD. As you mentioned, you did pick up that Midas, now has the armlet complete and another 2,000 gold in the bank, so sneaking, well, making that recovery farm, and will be a force to be reckoned with as farm continues. OD, as you mentioned, did have that Force Staff and now has the Ultimate Orb, so going to be working towards a Sheepstick of his own probably. So time will tell how things will go for SSD. The longer this match goes on, certainly going to start to edge in their favor a bit.
Yeah, once OD gets his Sheepstick too,
Yeah.
then Queen of Pain is going to be a bit of trouble. It's kind of like a rush to see who gets sheep sick first, but also who has been the aggressor.
Yep. Uh-oh, ZXC gonna have be in a little bit of trouble up in the top lane. Will throw the boat as sort of a last-ditch effort there, afraid of going down. He will survive, though. Those disruptions coming out gonna be helpful. Queen of Pain gonna blink forward very aggressively here. Is gonna burn the ulti on top of the Crystal Maiden. That'll end the freezing field. Not the best freezing field, but still doing a little bit of damage. Oh, the Lifestealer gonna get caught, as well as the Rubik. Now Zai gonna be in big trouble. Sanity's Eclipse gonna come in, still reasonably low level, not gonna do a ton of damage. OD is level 13, but that int difference just isn't as big as it needs to be. Right now, a 3-for-0 exchange, and it's not over quite yet. OD taking a lot of damage, a few more auto attacks. He will Astral himself. He's going to buy himself a few more seconds here, but I don't think it'll be enough to keep him alive. Nope, Zai, the only one left alive. He is going to pour it out with just a few hit points to spare, but talk about a swing of momentum. 4-for-0 exchange here, and Power Rangers going to grab themselves.
Where are the sentries? They
tower.
just like Moonlight Shadow and just like walked up to them. But like Rubik needs sentries, Crystal Maiden needs to drop her sentries, and like all the sentries are on the side of Power Rangers, and they don't even have any Invis heroes on SSD's side. So like that's just why, just a simple matter of not having detection just cost them so heavily.
Wow.
They got the Kunko down very, very low, and he got defensively disrupted, but usually they can just follow with like an Astral or just some sort of burst after that to finish it off. But he did not die, and they just like walked up and got engaged upon.
Yeah, I had that same moment. I was like, look at all these sentries. Oh, yeah, those are all Power Rangers sentries. Oh my. Just sloppy from SSD right there. Really no way around it. Tower count is now going to be 2-1 in favor of Power Rangers, and that gold graph again going to swing in favor of our Radiant side, but this is by far the biggest swing we've seen so far in this match. Now the gold lead upwards of just about 4,000 or so. Exactly what Power Rangers need as we keep going back to the carry advantage, certainly in favor of super strong dinosaurs. So
that's
Power
sheep too.
Yeah,
if she chooses to buy it.
Oh yeah, all right. So that's even bigger. I mean, that mid game is really when Quap shines. So hopefully they can keep the momentum up, and also now Power Rangers gonna knock down that bottom tier 1, and we'll finish off the remaining. Well, all 3 tier 1 towers down. What I'm getting at here.
I like the return of the safe lane Quap though, and she can survive for some triple lanes. And I like, yeah, Quap underrated hero, and I was like kind of hesitant about it because they picked it versus OD, but it seems like the early game rotation and laning choices have really paid off for PR. And Queen of Pain, Midas Trez, Sheep Sick, 24 minutes, definitely very good, especially when starting out in that 1-on-3 situation. And SSD really needs T1 towers of themselves for themselves right now.
Yep.
Moonlight Shadow coming out.
Yeah, and it looks like they may grab a second one here as the Shadow Demon working on denying that top tier 1 that will level it out a little bit, but still going to be a tower deny. Moonlight Shadow did come out, but nothing going to come of it. Not going to find a kill on any part of the map. Sneaking here, going to grab himself a Yasha for his second item following the armlet. I'm guessing that'll turn into an S and Y. Any thoughts about that item choice on the Lifestealer?
I think he needed a Saint before the Yasha. Because he needs HP, especially with his sheep coming out so soon. But and I think Saint would have given him a little bit more damage. He's not really chasing people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's true. And here, Queen of Pain going to blink into the trees. They're trying to find her, but looks like they're not going to have any way to clear those trees and make it to her. So Quap will survive to tell the tale. Going to try to get scattered out by that Clockwork rocket, but going to be slightly off the mark there. Another big item pickup on the side of the Radiant. Actually, a couple big item pickups. And Rana now with the Manta in tow. Lich going to grab himself a Force Staff, and Kunkka grabbing that much-needed Shadow Blade. So now he's going to have a little bit more mobility and a little bit more initiation power. But whoa, in the mid, yeah, Hookshot going to come in. Going to be off the mark with the Cogs. Unfortunately, the arrow going to fly, not going to connect. The passive or a defensive disruption coming out, and it'll buy FGod here a little bit of time. Not much. Queen of Pain going to come in, though. That'll be the end of the Clockwork. The Lich got picked off in the mix. Crystal Maiden going to throw that freezing field as OD comes in, though. Queen of Pain going to get obliterated. Will buy back right away, though. Going to port back to the tier 1 tower. Boat going to come in. Will connect with the Ruik. A fairly even exchange so far. A 3-for-2 in favor of SSD. Sneaking, going to try to port out. Is he going to make it? No, not going to have enough time. That Quap buyback going to prove to be worth it, as that does level out this fight as a 3-for-3 exchange, and they get a kill on that valuable Lifestealer. He does survive, however, as does the Crystal Maiden. Power Rangers may be able to grab themselves this tier 2 kill, tower kill in the mid lane as a bit of counter pressure. So I think this Queen of Pain buyback there, very much so worth it.
Yeah, definitely so. And PR is still maintaining and commanding their lead, about 5,000 gold lead. Can they do Roshan anytime soon? Probably with Frost Armor and Arrow, but it's still pretty difficult to do. That probably will be the next point of contest, though, unless SSD tries to bring the fight to them. And that was a nice initiate by Zai over there, and it was just a little bit too close to the T1 tower because PR's team was just able to like yeah, the buyback, the TP back in, and although they were already up there, just not that favorable trying to fight like up this hill.
Ooh, that arrow up top almost connecting with the Clockwork and a nick the creep instead. Possibly could have been a kill on the Clockwork, but noble effort there from the Murana. And Smoke Gank here coming down in the bottom lane between, well, the two supports and the Kunkka on Power Rangers, but unbeknownst to them, SSD not going to have anyone nearby. But oh, never mind. Sneaky going to find his way down. That's going to be a blink forward from the Queen of Pain. A Sheep, the Torrent going to connect, and he's just going to get obliterated. He's a puddle on the floor now as he gets melted about that tier 2 tower. Nice initiation, and that's the power of a Queen of Pain grabbing a nice early Sheep Stick, though PR going to feel the wrath of the Sheep Stick themselves as OD just now having the cash to pick up his Scythe of Ice.
Yeah, they still need good initiation. Like using Blink to initiate is just so much easier than using Force Staff to initiate because of the way low cooldown. But now that they have that, they can also try to make use of Infest Bombs, try and take control of the map. Because as it stands right now, like SSD just does not have any map control. And if like Queen of Pain is out farming by herself, they need to pick her off. They need to force PR to stick around so they can't just starve SSD.
Yep, another tower going to fall here is that bottom lane. Tier 2 tower on the dire side goes down, and that's going to take the total tower count now 5-2 in favor of Power Rangers, so at least one of those tower kills was denied, so a huge gold advantage just in towers right now for Power Rangers, taking their gold lead upwards of 7,500, and the experience graph to boot, they've got a nice experience edge as well, now actually closer to that 10k mark than 7,500, so a good edge, exactly what they need. Still two Midases on each side, so there's no Midas advantage either way. And sort of as you were mentioning with that Lifestealer, that Yasha not helping him a lot in that last engage. He's now level 16, but that did set him back a little bit, still holding on to that same set of items when we last spoke. So Sneaking still struggling a little bit, kind of a relic from that early game where he just didn't pick up that momentum. Also important to note, Clockwork has a Blade Mail now, one of those core items on the Clockwork, but still one to fear nonetheless.
Yeah, they need some force staffs up. I think more force staffs. One on Clock would be nice. One on Rubik would be nice, but he's not getting items anytime soon. And yeah, Queen of Pain proving to be a pretty big problem. As is Murana. Murana actually has her fair share of farm too, sitting at 5, 2, and 12. Manta Style Desolator coming out soon. Kunkka has a Shadow Blade almost BKB, so Power Rangers might just overwhelm them with items pretty soon. Gold lead almost 10,000.
Yeah, and after Kunkka gets that BKB, it'll make his life a little more, a little easier, I should say, and probably going to be transitioning to more of that hard carry route. I imagine a crit stick might not be too far off following that BKB, which is always a scary item pickup on the Mighty Admiral, as it may be. But we'll see. I think Power Rangers have definitely, they need to keep the aggression up, but this is that point where they can sit back, hold on to their lead, farm up that next round of core items before they have to worry about initiating again. And here at the 30-minute mark, Roshan could become a focal point of this match before too long, as neither side really showing much interest in an early Roshan attempt. It seems that SSD, though, they have kind of a 5-man team protecting their Lifestealer right now as he clears out the Dire Ancients.
Yeah, they do need to protect Sneaking. He needs to be able to compete in farm because like Power Rangers has 3 heroes that are farm right now, and SSD kind of has like 1.5. I wouldn't even say Lifestealer is that farm. Like mainly it's just OD, so like they're gonna have their work cut out for them in this late game.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we see Roshan now becoming the focal point. SSD grouped up about the high ground are going to move into the pit. They're trying to avoid any potential ward coverage. There isn't any on the Radiant side here, but there is one up on the high ground outside the secret shop, so they had vision. They know exactly what's going on, and Power Rangers will use the Moonlight Shadow, it looks like here, to venture forward. Sheepstick going to be used on the Shadow Demon. He's going to get obliterated as this fight starts, and as will the Kunkka, actually. Quap going to throw a nice ulti. PPD going to get a nice Freezing Field off as well. The Chain Frost going to catch a couple of nice bounces. That'll be enough to finish off the Crystal Maiden, as well as the Clockwork here. This fight erupting into pure chaos, but it looks like Power Rangers are going to come out ahead. Sneaking forced to retreat with just a couple of hit points to spare. Same with the Outworld Devourer, and there it is. Power Rangers going to take a 2 for 3 as the two scary heroes of SSD, the OD and the Lifestealer, make it back to the well.
No, I guess it was a sort of calculated risk by SSD. They kind of thought that they wouldn't know, but at the same time, it's just a really bad place for them to take engagement. They clump up for Boat, they clump up for Queen of Pain Ultimate. I think she hit like 4. The Chain Frost just wrecked them. So SSD, like getting caught out in that position is not ideal, but you have to take risk when you're this far behind. And I would have liked to see them like smoke in, or at least like maybe have like a Lifestealer or someone else just like kind of farming up top just to make it look like they're not. It's not so obvious that they're doing a Roshan, but
Right.
yeah, they are they're like getting close where to that point where Power Rangers can just run over them.
Yeah, and in their defense, this ward kind of on the high ground here outside of the secret shop. Not the strangest place for a ward, but maybe not one you would expect at this point. So they probably thought they were safe out of vision with their crafty little force stabs down into the pit. But unfortunately, Power Rangers knew exactly what they were up to. So with that, the gold graph again going to spike way in favor of Power Rangers, now just about 14,000 as you mentioned. We're sort of getting close to that point of our Power Rangers just too far ahead, and even though they don't have the better late game team, their items will do the work for them. And I don't know, I think we're getting close to that territory. SNY now picked up on the Lifestealer, but the Desolator on Marana, I think, a little bit more scary. Also, the BKB has been completed on Kunkka following that fight. And the Desolator in particular, I'm actually not a big fan of the SNY on Lifestealer. I mean, as a general rule of thumb, is that kind of a core item, or what do you think?
I think it's okay if you're ahead. I don't think it's okay if you're behind, just because you need more survivability. Like the Sange HP is nice, especially when they have lockdown like sheep and stuff, where you can't really like lifesteal out of it. So just having a large HP buffer is useful. But yeah, the move speed is just not very useful here. And I mean, the attack speed is like whatever because you already get some from range. So pretty much the 20-50 gold from Nyasha is kind of wasted. Even Heaven's Halberd I think would be a little bit better. Being able to disarm the Kunkka. Or even the Queen of Pain at this point. Oh, well, she has BKB too. But yeah, I think your standard phase drums armlet into anything else. AC probably would be better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something too, especially now that Marana's got that Desolator. They're going to be wishing they had all that bit of extra armor. I mean, right now, Lifestealer, only with +5 armor on top of his 8 base.
This is a good time for them to fight, though. They don't have their Queen of Pain there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Queen of Pain is in the mid lane, and there's going to be a smoke used up by SSD. They're looking for the initiation, and oh no, the hook shot going to be intercepted by Sneaking. This is bad news bears right here for SSD. They need that initiation. The Chain Frost going to come out, going to take a lot of bounces, an unlucky bounce back to the creep wave, but still the damage has been done. Rubik going to fall, OD going to fall shortly after, and then the Lifestealer after that. Is this going to be a clean sweep? If not, it was still a 4-0 exchange. Clockwork still running around behind the trees, but it doesn't matter. SSD just going to tap out. They're too far behind. Wow, that could have been a great team fight, but oh, that hook shot. That was painful to see, Merlini.
Yeah, I mean, they had to go for a risk, though. So, I mean, SSD, they did what they could. Come With Me, though, I mean, he should not have had that bad of a game. And him giving the first bullet on bottom and then just continue to get counter position. I think they really needed his nice initiates and spell seals and whatnot to win that game. Unfortunately, they fall a little bit short, and Power Rangers will take home with a victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Rubik ending 2-11-7, as you said, not the stats you're looking for. That Queen of Pain, though, 12-2-13. Quite the
she
recovery.
Played really well.
Yeah, quite the recovery after that slow start. Very impressive from KOT. So, folks, we do have one more match coming up for you guys. Here with Starladder Season 8, Day number 3. We've got rox.kis versus Poseidon coming up next. I'm Zyori, with me is Merlini. Thank you so much for joining us here on Beyond the Summit. One more game of Dota 2 action coming your way.